Welcome to Ringsiders. Today on the show, we're joined by Natalie Sykes. Natalie, we've been trying to get this one set up for a while, so it's great to have you on the show.
I know we finally got there in the end.
Finally got there in the end after Jamie bailed numerous times. I'm throwing him under the bus, it was his fault. Uh, but yeah, thank you for joining us today. How have you been?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Hope you've been well too.
Yeah. Sorry, now there's so much going wrong with interviews tonight. Now my cat is also getting in the way. But yeah, so like I said, Jamie was meant to be on this one. Jamie's the one with the notes for the interview, but I'm sure we can still piece this one together as we go. So tell us, I usually say, where can we find you at the end of the show? I like to get the plugs out at the start of the show so people know where to find you while they're still watching. Can you let us know, first of all, where people can find you on social media?
On social media, you can find me just about anywhere. With the at Natalie Sykes _, and I've also got a big cartel, which is nataliesykes.bigcartel.com for any merch related needs you might have.
You never know. Everyone likes buying merch. One thing I did want to talk about first of all is one of our local companies, BWR. I'm sure you're familiar with BWR in Grimsby. Yeah, what's it been like working with BWR?
Yes, I am.
Because
Yeah.
over the last couple of years, BWR really seems like it's become one of the top promotions in the UK. It seems like every show is really better than the last. What's your experience been like with BWR?
I love BWR. Honestly, they have such fun crowds and give me opportunities for matches that I probably wouldn't really be booked in at other places. I think in like most places, you find it now in 2022, they are definitely giving the women like so much time and opportunity, and their training school, Evo, are also putting on some really great shows and stuff that I've been lucky to be a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best training schools in the UK, if you ask me. The Eva Academy, obviously run by I believe it's Nathan Cruz and Matt Myers. Two of the best
Yes, yeah.
coaches you can find. If you, yeah, I'm good friends with Matt Myers and Nathan, and I can't imagine two better people to learn from in British wrestling, especially Nathan.
Yeah, they've definitely got a lot of history behind them. But just want to go out on the record and say that obviously my heart is at Pursuit Pro Wrestling in Sheffield as
Yeah.
well. A
So,
very good training school to be at.
so when did you start training? How long have you been training for now? How long have you been wrestling?
So, if I remember correctly, my first training session was just before my 16th birthday. So it was in 2016. And then I had my first like proper match, like on a show in 2018. Um, so that's training about 6 years on shows for 4 years, if my maths is correct.
Right. So what was the so you've been training for quite a while before you debuted. Was you nervous before you had your first match?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was really nervous, but I was in good hands.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
super nervous.
I I wrestled only a handful of matches. I did some training, I did some matches, and it was actually my first match was with Nathan Cruz. I was tag teaming with Nathan Cruz, and I remember like my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour. I was thinking, what if I forget one spot and everyone starts laughing at me? I'm gonna look stupid. Did you have any of those same thoughts, or did it all go okay for you?
I mean, I still have those thoughts now, to be
Really?
honest. I don't think that goes. Um, you just learn to work with it if you do, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, when you just start wrestling and you have your first couple of matches, you're always scared of um everything has to be correct as how it was talked through or whatever. Everything has to be kind of perfect. and if you mess that up, just everything's gonna go to shit. Am I allowed to swear? I don't.
Yeah, and half the time people don't even know if you have messed up. Sometimes it's only you who knows. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So far, I mean, you say you've been wrestling for 6 years. Who have been some of the women in British wrestling that you've really got chance to learn from? Who has helped influence your style?
That's really interesting. I've definitely been very fortunate to wrestle a lot of really great women on the scene and consistently as well. Ivy's one of them. Rhea's another.
Yeah.
I have been able to kind of learn from them and consistently have matches with them. And yeah, I really enjoy working them a lot.
Yeah, Rhea O'Reilly, she's fantastic. We've had her on the show before. I believe you've wrestled her a few times, right? That must have been good.
Um, yeah, I wrestled her once at Eve. Maybe this is where it might get confusing. I meant Rio, not Rhea.
Oh, okay. I thought you said
Yes.
Rhea.
Well, Rhea also was incredible to share the ring with at Eve, and I'd love to do it again sometime. But at Tidal, I've wrestled
Oh, yeah.
Rio
Yeah.
a lot, and she's very good at what she does.
Yeah. I mean, in such a short time, you've wrestled quite a few prominent names on the scene. You're still in the young and you've already got this wealth of experience behind you. You've wrestled some great names. Is there anyone on the scene so far that you haven't been in the ring with that you want to mix it up with?
Oh, definitely. There's quite a few people who I've I've shared the ring with Lana Austin, and I think she's incredible. But we've never had a singles match. I would really, really want that to happen.
Yeah.
As well, Alex Windsor, Millie McKenzie. Now she's back on the scene. Would also be another dream match of mine.
Yeah.
There's definitely lots of people that I want to try and wrestle in 2023.
I think Millie McKenzie, she's in Japan at the moment, isn't she?
Yes. Yeah, I think she is.
Is that something you'd want to do as well? Given the
Yeah, definitely. Japan is definitely on the list of things I would like to achieve.
Is Stardom a company that you pay close attention to then?
Yes. It always kind of has been like an aspiration of mine to do a Stardom tour in Japan. I think that would be great. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like one of those companies where if you go to Stardom and you do a tour with Stardom, you come back like 10 times the wrestler that you left just because of the amount that you learn.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd just be such a great learning experience.
Yeah, and speaking of opportunities and stuff, I mean, I'd be stupid not to mention AEW's coming over to the UK next year. That's got to be on your radar, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, truth be told, like, don't really think I'm at an AEW level yet. Um, but it's definitely something I'll be keeping an eye on. Hopefully they come to the UK more often, and hopefully it would give more opportunity to those on the scene because I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, if there's one thing that AEW's done well, it's giving those independent talents a chance, especially on like AEW Dark. It's kind of like their development system, I think. So it'd be good to see when they come over to the UK, like if they come to the North, using some North-based in British talent would be good because there's so many guys and girls in British wrestling that I'd love to see get that chance on a bigger stage because it doesn't always happen with WWE, but I think AEW could make it happen. Is there any excitement with the people on the scene right now with AEW coming to the UK?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of really excited, not only from like a worker's perspective of trying to make those connections and get on, but I think a lot of people are excited for the attention that that is probably going to bring onto the UK scene,
Yeah,
um, and kind of the excitement around that and opportunities that might come from it, not necessarily being from AEW, but from the fact that it's bringing all these eyes and attention.
yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. I think we had that same interest when like NXT UK came. We thought this is going to be brilliant. Like, well, some people thought it was going to be brilliant. Some people weren't too happy. But I always thought of it as a kind of a good thing in the long run because it was showing that a big company like WWE had faith that our scene was so good, it was worth investing money into. And I think any company like WWE or AEW or New Japan that's willing to come here and stay here is a good thing. And I think with AEW coming next year, it's just the start of a lot of good things coming for the UK scene. And, you know, now NXT UK isn't a thing. There's a lot of great wrestlers coming back on the scene too. Like you mentioned one, Millie McKenzie. And I think we're going to prove again that British wrestling's some of the best in the world because you know we over the last few years I feel like we've really gone from being British wrestling was relatively unknown to now I think everyone knows it's some of the best in the world. What do you think? Do you think we're heading towards like another boom period for British wrestling?
I really hope so. Like with NXT UK, it was such a great opportunity for people who might not have before with the amount of talent on the scene to like step up into those positions
Yeah.
and really kind of expand and improve their performance. And yeah, I think that would be a really great opportunity for everyone involved, really. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we spoke briefly about, you know, you've been wrestling for 6 years in total with your training as well. How did you actually get into wrestling? I always find it interesting knowing how people got into wrestling, but also what was the first wrestler you saw who thought, yeah, they're cool, I want to do that?
So I have three older brothers.
Right.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to kind of set up this story is that I have three older brothers and I would always watch what they were watching and I was probably a crash test dummy on more than one occasion for them. The first wrestler I remember seeing was Jeff Hardy and being like, wow,
Yeah.
you're cool and you are jumping off of things. That's really dangerous, but also really cool.
Yeah.
um, but then getting into the training side of things wasn't until I was a bit older and I kind of fell back in love with wrestling. This was the time of like Sasha Banks, Bailey, Charlotte, Paige, everything like that. And I thought I would like to do this. So yeah, searched up a local training school and just got involved.
And you say it was Pursuit Pro Wrestling that you got in with first, was it?
No, so Pursuit is a fairly new school, kind of post-COVID school. My training was at a school in Leeds called Grapple.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But now it's Pursuit.
And you've done work in Leeds before with Tidal, I believe.
Yeah.
Tidal's an interesting company. They seem to have like very different shows to most in the UK. Like some of the match types that I've seen come from Tidal have been quite interesting. I mean, what has your experience been like with Tidal?
I love Tidal. Um, they also give me a lot of cool opportunities. I've recently just won their women's championship belt. So really, can't really say a bad word about them. Sometimes it can be a bit crazy and
Yeah.
insane, like the ideas and concepts that they come up with. But they have a great roster, and I've always loved my time at Tidal.
Is it just me, or did they make Ace Matthews the Tidal Wrestling Champion? Is that
No,
or is that a rumor?
no, they did. He is Tidal champion.
I think he likes to be called the Tidal Chief now. I think that's what I heard.
Well, I'm not gonna call him that. I'm
Or
not
the ace that runs the place was the
um, we'll see.
because I saw a picture of him with the belt and knowing Ace, I was like, surely he's just picked up the belt and taken a picture of it, trying to be funny. But everyone's like, no, Ace Matthews is the champion. And I'm like, oh
Yeah,
right, okay.
I watched it with my own eyes.
Oh God. We're never gonna hear the end of that. As much as I love to hate him, I actually do love Ace Matthews. He's such an annoying heel character I really really like him. I'm glad to see him getting a lot more exposure with say 1PW nowadays. And is that a company you'd like to step in with as well? 1PW.
Yeah, definitely. Again, like having them come back to the British scene and bringing all this incredible talent in to help
Yeah.
all these amazing matches with British talent, um, further kind of pointing out how good our scene is.
Yeah, that was always the selling point of 1PW. I used to go back in the day and it was like you'd get to see AJ Styles versus like a guy from Doncaster. And it was just so surreal seeing like the top names in American wrestling mix it up with the British guys. And hopefully that's what's going to happen again because, there was a time in British wrestling where it was mainly imports because we didn't have our own big established names. But I think we have that now. And if 1PW does it again, there's so many matches that we could see now, from those top American names versus the top British names. For example, if you were wrestling for 1PW and you could choose any import to wrestle, who would it be?
Oh, I was so excited when they announced Mickey James on their first show.
Yeah,
I feel like I would have to go with Mickey James,
Mickey James.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often that answer comes up when we ask wrestlers, who do you want to wrestle, or if you could choose anybody. It's always Mickey James or like a Sasha Banks. If you could, it would be a Sasha,
Yeah, yeah.
sure. But if it can't be a Sasha Banks, it's always Mickey James. And I think it's because she's such a great wrestler, but also a great character too. And the amount of stuff you could probably learn from her would be incredible.
Yeah, definitely. She's just an icon. She's just iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like she's been wrestling forever as well. She's only still young, relatively, but it seems to me like she's been wrestling since I was a kid. And I just don't get it, like how she's still so good at that age. Um, is she an Impact at the moment? Or
Um, I feel like she is. I'm not sure if it's like a contract, like a really strict contract that she's in. I know she's made a couple of appearances now and again.
yeah, I saw that she was doing something with the NWA before because NWA has uh, their own female show, Empower,
Mhm.
which is I think is a great concept on paper. I hope they really do deliver on it because there's some amazing talent on there. Have you had a chance to see Empower from the NWA?
Yeah, I've managed to catch a few bits here and there.
Yeah, what are
Mainly,
your thoughts on it? Because I haven't seen too much of it.
again, like I think that now moving forward, companies are realizing that the women can be as much of a draw
Yeah,
and kind of giving them that opportunity to shine.
like
Um,
if we're being realistic, let's look at WWE and say the biggest stars of the last 5 years. To me, top five, maybe even top three: Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. I can't think of many stars who are almost at that mainstream level outside of Roman Reigns for the guys. To me, it's Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch for the female wrestlers, and I think we're proving like there's a lot of money on the table with female wrestlers. They're more mainstream than a lot of the guys, and hopefully, a lot of places are starting to click on with that now. And one company that does get a bit of criticism for it is AEW. I'd feel like they could have their own show of just female wrestlers. They've probably got the best women's division in the world. What's your thoughts on the AEW women's division and how they handle it?
um, honestly, like AEW could be doing a lot worse.
They could be,
They could
yeah,
definitely be doing a lot worse. I still think that they really do give their roster the time to shine. I think as well they don't shy away from giving those women the opportunity, especially on Dark. Um, I mean, I can't really
yeah,
complain because I'm a 22-year-old from Leeds who is
yeah.
doing.
I get the point. I think a lot of wrestling fans are cynical sometimes, myself included, because there's so much good talent. I want to see them all at once, and I have no patience. I'm like, you need to show me all of my favorite wrestlers at once. And that just never happens in wrestling. There's always going to be people taking time off, people not getting used. So I think I just always worry that they're not going to pull the trigger and, push somebody because everyone deserves it in AEW, I think. Like, there's so much good talent. But I think we just need to be a bit more patient. And, like, for example, with Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho, Britt Baker, they've now got Soraya's back. There's so many good potential matchups. They could have the best women's roster in the world. But I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see that. What did you think of Soraya coming back to AEW? One of the biggest British wrestling names in
Yeah, I was super
history.
excited, you kind of see it before, especially with like Daniel Bryan. You just think like, oh, there's no way they're coming back, which is such a shame. And then
Yeah,
they managed to get through it, and like it's incredible to have Saraya back on the scene.
yeah. I never thought she'd be back. Great to see her back, and good to see her pop up every now and then at WAW. She still does make appearances in the UK, but it would be amazing if now she's with AEW, if they'd let her do appearances on the UK Indies too. I'm gonna take a wild guess here. That's someone you'd want to get in the ring with.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of when I fell like back in love with wrestling, she was definitely very prominent to my love of wrestling at that time. And yeah, would be an honor to share the ring with her if that was like ever possible.
Yeah, yeah. There's a really good chance it could happen. Like
Maybe.
you say that you're not experienced enough and you're only 22, but that's probably the kind of person they're looking to sign or wrestle. Somebody who is young, somebody that they're signing people from all over the world. There's just as good a good a chance that you might get signed as anybody else.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, you never know. But before we start to wrap up, I always like to ask as well if there's anything coming up on your schedule that you want to promote as well. Any upcoming shows, Tidal, any defenses?
So as of December, Tidal, I believe, have their December off to, really celebrate Christmas. And just kind of get ready in time for the new year. So they'll be back in January with shows in Huddersfield and Leeds. Uh, it's probably too soon to try and plug this, but tomorrow I'm back at North Wrestling in Newcastle with a first time ever matchup against Angel Hayes, which I'm really looking forward to
Nice.
as well. Yeah, and True Grit Wrestling in Sheffield. On the 30th of December, I am facing Gia Adams, who is another wrestler who I just love sharing the ring with. I think she's incredibly talented.
There's a lot of good shows coming up still this year. That's just for the rest of this year as well. But hopefully, we'll get the chance to come see you at Tidal soon. We're thinking we might go see a Tidal show just because it's so much fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Or maybe even TGW because I've heard they're amazing as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully get you back on the show soon. I'm sure Jamie would actually like to speak to him in a queue as well. But yeah, until then, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Natalie.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and hopefully see you soon.